In this video, I'm going to show you a super simple, easy recipe to make delicious Detroit style pizza. Detroit style pizza is probably my second favorite style of pizza of all time, only topped by New York style. And unlike other traditional styles of pizza, anyone can make it. You need absolutely no skill whatsoever. You don't need to handle the dough too much by stretching it, making a perfect circle, or launching it off a peel. It's all done in a pan, really easy to do. And it also just happens to be incredibly good. So I developed this recipe specifically to work on a Gosney style oven, because that's how I like to cook my pizzas most of the time, but it will also obviously work in a regular home oven as well. So this full recipe will be down below, obviously. It's really simple. There are more complicated ways to do this, but I'm gonna keep it simple for this video. We just started off with some bread flour, some diastatic malt powder. Adding malt powder is going to help with browning and flavor development, particularly on a dough like this. It's only going to sit one night. Active dry yeast. You can use any yeast. I'm using active dry. Salt. And we get this mixed round. Also another tip, if you use a KitchenAid and you've got the standard C-shaped hook and you do a lot of pizza dough or bread making, go and buy the S hook. Way better for kneading and gluten development, and it stops the dough sliding up to the top and just spinning around. I'll put a link below where you can buy that on Amazon. Give that a little dry mix. Whilst that's going around, gonna start adding my water slowly. Just mix that around until it comes into a shaggy ball. Literally 45 seconds to a minute later, this has all come together. Nothing pretty, but we're gonna leave it like that for the next 30 minutes. Clean tea towel and a plate, come back in 30 minutes. After half an hour, this can go back on, and I'm gonna mix this on setting 2 for 8 minutes. So after 8 minutes, we're gonna get that out, plop that sticky dough onto the board, and then I'm just gonna use my dough scraper just to ball it up under itself. And this is just one technique that you can use for a sticky dough. There's plenty of others. I've done other videos where I handle dough differently, but I like to use this method occasionally, and it's good if you're pretty new to this. The entire time, this is helping the gluten structure to form. And after about 2 minutes or so, you end up with a nice tight dough ball that's got a really smooth surface. So if you're struggling with stickier doughs, this is a 75% hydration. Grab yourself a dough scraper. Then we're gonna take that, put that into a Cambro food container, pop the lid on, and this can go in the fridge overnight. You can leave it up to 2 days, will be fine, but overnight will be plenty long enough. Also, a lot of people ask me where I get these food containers from, so I've dropped a link below where you can buy them. Really useful for storing dry goods, making sauces, proofing dough. Highly recommend picking some of these up if you're in the kitchen a lot. Next up, I'm gonna be making a pizza sauce that is perfect for this style of pizza. It's incredibly easy to make and it's delicious. I call it a half-cooked sauce, and the reason for that is there are many types of pizza out there that use a sauce, a tomato sauce that has been cooked down before it goes onto the pizza, and then there are styles of pizza that often have a raw sauce where the only heat the sauce sees is when it's baking in the oven. This is somewhere in between. It doesn't get cooked for very long in a pan, just long enough to cook off some fresh garlic and evaporate some water, but it's not completely cooked down to a thick tomato sauce that you see on some pizzas. Anyway, full recipe will be down below. Definitely make it. We'll just start off with a small pot and lots of olive oil. I like to coat the bottom of this pan. Then we'll take 1 large clove of garlic. Get that in. Get that onto a low to medium heat and get that garlic cooking away nicely. Then the canned tomatoes that you use for this are completely optional. Generally, I'll opt for whole peeled tomatoes, more often than not San Marzano, because whole peeled tend to be the better quality. But this particular brand do a finely chopped tomato, which is already the perfect texture for this style of pizza. I want there to be a little bit of chunkiness to this sauce, but not too big. This stuff really is finely chopped, so I like to use this. Basically, you don't really need to do anything to it, and they're high quality. Once that garlic's been cooking away for a little bit, just to take away the raw edge, tomatoes go in. Then we'll go with some oregano, some salt, and then a pinch of red chili flakes. Cook that through for maybe 10 minutes. So I'm sure 99% of you are gonna know this, but for those of you that don't, Detroit style pizza is typically cooked in something like this. This is a Lloyd pan, and this approximates the original blue steel pans that were used in Detroit in the 40s to make Detroit style pizza. So this is a pretty integral part of it. Not this specific pan, but Lloyd pans are what most modern restaurants are using. I'll drop a link below as to where you can buy this on Amazon. I've had these for a couple of years and they hold up pretty good. But realistically, you could just use a high-sided pan. So as I say, back in the 40s, they started using the pans that were used in the automotive industry to collect oil drippings from cars or just to hold parts. And one particular Detroit style pizza place started using those pans, those blue steel pans, to make pizza. And you get a real unique outcome when you use a pretty much non-stick, thick, good heat retaining pan. You get a nice brown crispy edge, and that's definitely going to be helped by the amount of oil that we're going to use in this pan. And yeah, for me, this size pizza is good for one very hungry person or two kind of hungry people. I'm definitely going to eat all of this though. But yeah, you've got to be careful when you use these in a Gosney oven because they're not rated to be cooked at a temperature as high as a typical outdoor oven would go. But we're not going to cook our pizza that high anyway. The link will be below where you can buy this if you're in the UK at least. It's a Lloyd's pan, not true blue steel, which is what they originally used, and you can still buy those, but it's pretty much the industry standard. An overnight fridge rest or bulk fermentation later. This has risen just a little bit. We're not trying to make this pizza too gassy, so that's why it was in the fridge overnight, just to slow down the rate at which that yeast wants to eat up those sugars and form air bubbles. So we'll get this out onto our board. And you should be able to see just how stretchy it is. That's from that 8 minutes of mixing and that little ball up at the end. All I'm gonna do is get it into 2 balls, roughly about the same size. Again, just using my dough scraper just to help with the stickiness of this dough. I'm gonna pop any air bubbles that have formed. And we've got our 2 dough balls. Set those to the side. Then we're going to take our Lloyd's pan and get this covered with olive oil. So this is going to do a few things. It's going to provide some flavor. It's going to prevent the pizza from sticking. But also, the best bit in my opinion, when it gets hot, it basically starts to fry the base of the pizza. And that is one of the hallmarks of a Detroit style pizza. So once that's all lubed up, take our dough ball. And at this point, because I've recently worked the dough and formed it into a ball, it's not going to be particularly stretchy right now. So gluten can be a little bit annoying in that if you play with it, it tightens up and it doesn't want to stretch back out again for a little while. And if you're ever having problems with stretching your dough, just leave it for 10, 20, 30 minutes, come back, that gluten will have relaxed a little bit and it should stretch out a bit easier. So I'm just going to cover this with a lid for about half an hour, come back and then I'll start to stretch it out into shape. Probably going to take a couple of goes to get it to the final shape. Stretch, allow to rest, stretch, allow to rest. But during that time, this is basically going to go through its second stage of proving. It proved overnight in the fridge and then it's going to prove again at ambient temperature in the kitchen. Go over with a little bit of cling film, set that to the side and come back in about half an hour. So we have to talk about cheese, obviously, and generally for a Detroit style pizza, they'll be using traditional Wisconsin brick cheese. It's a high fat, low moisture mozzarella in its simplest form. And they called it brick cheese because the original process for getting all of that extra moisture out was to squish it between bricks. That would result in a drier cheese. Anyway, you can't get brick cheese over here in the UK, so I like to use this high fat, low moisture mozzarella from Arla. I'll put a link below as to where you can buy it. You can buy it in Costco here in the UK if you're close to one. I talk more about Arla in this pizza video, and yeah, it works out just fine for this style of pizza. I'm not going to cube this up, I'm going to go shredded. So over the course of about an hour or hour and a half or so, I've been convincing this dough out to the side. You can see that in this warmer temperature, it's starting to bubble up, which is good. And it doesn't take a lot of convincing, to be honest, because this dough is very, very stretchy, very soft. And over the course of a little bit of time, it will stretch out. You can pick up and pinch the corners and drag them to the edge as well. And every time you do that, you can just cover it up with cling film, and then I like to press the edges down to those greasy sides to create a bit of a seal. Stops anything from drying out. So as I say, we're going to be cooking this pizza on my Gosney Arc XL, and one of the problems that happens when you try and cook a Detroit style pizza in an oven like that rather than a home kitchen oven or commercially a deck oven is that it can be pretty tricky to get the dough to cook fully through without completely burning the top. So a lot of these recipes that you'll see online for Detroit style pizza will have you par bake the dough, which basically means to put the dough into the pan, cook it in the oven naked for a little bit, then top it, then recook it. But I'm not a huge fan of that method because you kind of miss out on that soft dough texture that you get when the cheese and the sauce is directly on the fresh dough. You kind of get a situation where you've got dry dough with a dry top, then your cheese, then your sauce. So my method for getting an even cook all the way through is really down to the temperature of the stone and how you manage the flame. So on the Arc XL and pretty much every outdoor pizza oven out there, there are really kind of 3 main temperatures to think about, or in my head, head at least. That's the stone temperature, the ambient temperature, and the top-down heat temperature. So I found in order to get an even bake throughout, the first thing you need to do is fully saturate the stone in heat. And the first thing I use is my infrared gun to check the temperature of the stone. But there's a big difference between the very surface temperature of the base of your oven or stone and how much heat is retained throughout the entire thickness of it. So what I personally want to do is get that stone fully saturated with heat so that when we put the Detroit style pan on, it doesn't suck up all that heat and effectively stop cooking or cook a lot slower. If you fully saturate that stone with a lot of heat over a long period of time, say 45 minutes to an hour, when you put that pan in, it's going to absorb some of that initial heat, but there's still going to be enough heat within the stone to continue cooking evenly from the bottom up. So I'm going to preheat my oven for at least an hour before I get going. The next kind of heat to think about is obviously the ambient temperature. Now, I don't really monitor this. I don't really check the temperature on the digital screen on the Arc XL. I just really go by the stone temp and it seems to work for me. But the other really important type of heat for me is that top-down heat, either coming from the top of the dome and radiating downwards onto the pizza, or if like me, you've got an Arc XL with a rolling flame, that flame creating direct heat downwards onto the pizza. So once I've got my oven up to temperature, the stone is fully saturated, it's reading 300 Celsius or 570 Fahrenheit with my gun. As soon as I launch that pan into the oven, I'm going to turn my flame right down. If I leave it all the way up, that cheese is definitely going to be blistered and maybe even split before the rest of the pizza is done. You might have to play around a little bit with your pizza oven, but for me, that works on the Gosney Arc XL. So I think that's everything said and done pretty much, so just need to make this pizza up. As per tradition, we're going straight onto our dough with the cheese, and you want to make sure that you get the cheese right to the edge. And if you're lucky, you'll get a little cheese crown going on. Doesn't always happen. This isn't the best cheese for that, to be honest. Next comes the tomato sauce on top of the cheese, and generally you'll see either 2 or 3 stripes, but I prefer a little more consistency in the bite, so I like to put my sauce into a squirt bottle and go diagonally across. And then I'm going to go on with plenty of pepperoni. And I'm not going to be shy about this at all. That should be enough. Let's take it out to the Gosney. Keep checking on it, try not to take it out. I think we're done. That looks great. Time to take this inside. Whatever you do, keep that off anything that's likely to burn or melt. Gonna let that cool down just a little bit. That is looking ridiculous. So whilst it's still hot, I'm gonna get myself a spatula. It will come away. Forgot to press record. Gonna go on with some Parmesan cheese. And that, I think, is a pretty good Detroit style pizza. Nice and crispy, almost like a fried focaccia. I need one of those pizza rockers to cut this, but gonna cut it into 4. That smells ridiculous. Nice crispy undercarriage, nice and soft under that cheese. And that corner, that's gotta be the best bite for sure. Just look at that crust. It is basically fried bread. So oily, so crispy and crunchy. It's the crust for me that makes this pizza so good. Yeah, absolutely outrageous. Everything on the bottom is just like crispy and fried, and then everything upwards is just soft dough. That contrast is one of the things that makes this so good. Crispy exterior, soft and fluffy dough on the inside. That cheese might not be necessarily the right cheese for this pizza, but it works perfectly well. That sauce is the right balance between a cooked garlicky sauce and a fresh tomato sauce. It doesn't just taste like extremely concentrated tomato. It's got enough freshness and acidity in it, which is nice. Pepperoni, always good. That is a slice that's seriously making me reconsider what my favorite pizza of all time is. I'm generally not a deep base pizza kind of person. I like New York style, I like Chicago tavern style, I like Neapolitan style, but a Detroit style is like a completely different thing entirely. It is like a crispy, freshly fired focaccia topped with cheese and tomatoes. Perfect. Just so good. Can't say enough about this pizza. highly recommend making this pizza up. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing if you're not already. Also, please comment, like the video, share the video, do all that stuff. It really does help me out. A huge thank you to my channel members for helping me out every single month regardless. I appreciate it a huge amount. You guys mean a huge amount to me. You really help me to continue doing this every single month. So thank you very much to them. Again, if you want to see more videos like this and more barbecue focused videos, subscribe. I post videos every single week, and I'll hopefully see you next week for another video.